If you love to travel, you are going to need a travel agent. And if you want the best travel agent, you are going to need Booley's Travel. Booley's Travel can help you with any kind of holiday wherever you want to go in the world, taking care of every last detail. From package holidays through to fully customized itineraries where you are completely in control of where you go and what you do. And the best part, there are no charges whatsoever. Rated excellent on Trustpilot. Start your next adventure right now by going to booleystravel.com.
Welcome back to part 2 of our Vancouver and Whistler episode. Let's jump right in where we left off.
What's the one thing that a visitor really has to do that you can only really do in Vancouver? It could be anything, be food, be cultural, artistic. What's the one thing they must do when they get there?
I'm not going to say a float plane again, because I've said that too much. But, and again, I don't want to give you too much of a politician's answer, but personally, I think just getting out on your feet, there's so much you can do if you pop on a pair of trainers and go for a walk. You can do the grouse grind, if you like, from the bottom to the top of Grouse Mountain. It's a beautiful walk. It's just step after step. I was getting lapped by 80-year-old Vancouverites that just do it every day. And then at the top, you get these beautiful views. Wandering around Capilano, again, in the rainforest there, you've got bald eagles flying around you. To me, as soon as I get to my hotel after my flight, I'm having a shower, getting the long haul off me, and then I'm getting a pair of trainers on, and I just want to be out in the fresh air, exploring. I just love it for that. And that, to me, is, like I say, it's a city, but it doesn't feel that way because it's so fresh. There's so many green spaces, and just take yourself away. Like so many destinations, it's not difficult to find a little corner of Vancouver where it's not busy. You can get off the beaten track so easily. Just doing the grouse grind and things like that, you'll be on your own in the forest, just finding those ways of being there. If it's Capilano, do it first thing in the morning, or do it just later in the afternoon when the coach tours aren't coming in and coming out, and you will find your space. You will find your greenery and your tranquility somewhere in Vancouver, even in this really vibrant city at some of the most peak times.
Yeah, awesome. So let's move along, talking about putting trainers on. Let's take a look at your outdoor activities and your urbany and nature balance, which we've already talked about. We've already said you can be in a beach, have your rainforest there, and mountains. You can do it all in the same day. What kind of activities best showcase the unique blend of all those three things in Vancouver?
I personally feel that the city just needs to be seen, because it's not just the city, it's the surrounding mountains, the oceans. So I always think, get on a boat, get in the air. If you can't do a float plane tour, then there's the observatory tower in the center of the city where you get a 360-degree view. It's not quite a float plane tour where you're up in the air and you're not just circling the city, you're looking out past the Straits and Sounds over to Vancouver Island. The boat tours as well, whale watching, you'll see some amazing wildlife, but it's not just about that. The scenery you get as you speed away from Vancouver, seeing the city from the ocean, but also seeing the mountains around it, heading up the inlets. Again, you're venturing up towards Whistler there. Is absolutely beautiful. And you don't even need to spend that long if you want to get out on the water. There are 90-minute boat tours that will just take you round to Cold Harbour and back again, or just spend a few bucks and jump on one of the water taxis to get that experience. And through that, I don't know, you see and get a sense of not just the city, but the surroundings.
Awesome. How do locals make the most of Vancouver's natural playground? And how can you as a visitor tap into that?
Locals are super outdoorsy. Like rollerblading is something that came in the 80s and stayed in Vancouver. You will have Vancouverite parents on rollerblades pushing their strollers, or sorry, their buggies around the seawall at 8 in the morning. So that's what they're doing. They are out in the greenery. They are really outdoorsy. Like I said about the grouse grind, that's what the locals are doing. They're getting out. They're at the beach at the weekend playing beach ball and doing sports. That's where they're really getting involved with, along with eating out. Again, it's a much more cultural thing, eating out, I think, in North America than it is to some extent in the UK. It's a lot more common for people to do that. So going out and eating out with the locals, I think those are the two things for me that really the Vancouverites seem to do. And my English accent goes next level when I'm up there because I love the interaction as well with the locals. I find it such a friendly city. I love chatting with them. They're really passionate about the place that they live. And again, a great conversation, just because conversations are fun anyway, but they'll give you little tidbits and little suggestions of, oh, this is the restaurant we go to, or look, this is the place that we like hiking that we usually don't tell tourists about. So that's a really good way of kind of chatting. And of course, there's no language barrier whatsoever when you're there. So it's just lovely to get talking to these people. And jet lag is a problem sometimes, but use it to your advantage. When you wake up at 5 in the morning, get up, grab something to eat from one of the 24-hour breakfast places and start your walk around Stanley Park. There's so much stuff you can explore before the city's up. And again, that's usually where you'll find the locals getting their exercise in before work.
Yeah. Okay, incredible. Let's take a look now at Whistler, which we've covered off a little bit again. It's obviously a world-renowned kind of winter sports destination, but many travellers still think of it as just a ski town. How do you describe Whistler in the summer months to somebody who's never been?
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's still probably best known within the UK as a ski resort. And I think because of that, sometimes there's this assumption that over the summer it's this sleepy village and there's only so much going on, a bit of biking. Whereas in actual facts, there are more customers that come through the summer now, and has been this way for probably nigh on a decade, more customers in the summer than there is in the winter. It is a mecca for mountain biking. And while that isn't really the UK customer, it tends to be Canadian, American customers. They flock to Whistler for some of the greatest mountain biking in the world. And because of that, you have that, what I guess we would define as après ski in the winter. For use of better terminology, I call it après summer, over spring through fall, that you've got those guys out on mountain that are absolutely buzzing after biking one of the greatest mountains in the world, that are just having beers and living it up. But then you've got this other completely different demographic, usually older couples, international. The Aussies is a huge market in this part of Canada, the Brits, lots of Europeans, a lot of Germans that are traveling through. And it feels like those two demographics, the kind of yeehaw American, Canadian mountain bikers and the we're doing Western Canada international business, shouldn't mix. But they just mix brilliantly. And at the base of Whistler, every day of the year pretty much, but true across the summer months as well, there's this real buzz, this real energy. The resort is absolutely alive, but everything changes. So over the winter, Whistler is best known as a ski resort. The biggest in North America, which is huge. You don't need to know much about skiing to know USA and Canada are huge countries. Therefore, the ski resorts in them are huge, and this is the biggest. But I think sometimes because it is so big and it gets so much snow, that becomes such a key focus of winter. Whereas over the winter, there are just this range of absolute phenomenal activities which carry through into the summer months as well. The zip lining, that would be, we talked about the one must do thing in Vancouver. For me, that is absolutely it in Whistler. You cannot go to Whistler and not do zip lining because the views, the experience, Whistler to me is synonymous with some form of adventure. Now, for some people, that may be just getting the gondola and doing the peak to peak, which at times is 400 meters plus high. Other people, it may be bungee jumping or heliing up to a glacier-fed lake in the middle of nowhere and doing stand-up paddleboarding. But whatever it is, I think Whistler, you should try and push yourself out of your comfort zone to some degree. And like I said, I think zip lining is just a really brilliant way of doing it. But there is just so much to do there. And we hear time and time again that, oh, I wish I'd had a bit more because we only just scratched the surface. Your first day, by the time you've gone up the mountain and you've explored the village a little bit, if you're staying for 2 nights, that's it. You're back in your car onto your next place. You've not got into any of those incredible activities, the spas and bear watching. As I mentioned earlier, the bear watching here is just next level. And again, if you're coming to Whistler early on your trip, use jet lag to your advantage because early in the day is one of the best times to see the bears. I did a 6 a.m. bear watching when I was over in June, which I know sounds horrific, but that's probably 11 a.m. UK time. So boom, my eyes were open. I was up and about. I went out. I saw bear cubs, bears climbing trees. I explored the old Olympic legacy from 2010 at the same time, got some beautiful scenery. And I was back in Whistler by 9 a.m. and by 9:30, and this isn't even a joke, I'd gone off ziplining. So things like that you can do early in the morning can really enhance your stay, but you need that time in Whistler because there is so much more to do than you think there is. And I think in some way that is often the biggest challenge for people selling West Coast Canada, because often customers want to do a lot in not enough time. They'll give themselves 2 weeks and they want to do everything, and it's just not possible. And 2 nights is just never long enough, because really that means 1 day before you're doing the next bit of your travel. I think that's always the tough bit. And I've always been of the mind, reduce what you're doing, focus maybe on an area rather than trying to do everything, and spend longer in each destination, because there's not one destination on the West Coast that doesn't warrant that. Maybe it needs to be 2 holidays instead of 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any like festivals or outdoor concerts or kind of community stuff really that goes on?
Yeah, and just coming to that community point initially, that's the other thing that really sets Whistler aside, that it is a ski resort, but this is a locals town, a locals village. There are more locals than there are visitors from many points during the year. They're the ones coming out and getting involved. So it's not just this kind of commercial ski resort. This is a proper town where people live. And then over the summer months in particular, there are so much going on. Every weekend there is some kind of festival, whether it's wine, food, music, dance, you name it, there's something going on. Often in the evenings, they'll do things like open air cinema and things like that, which are as well attended by the locals as they are tourists. And they're always looking at ways of integrating the locals with the tourists. Again, the locals will always be out hanging around the lakes in Whistler, especially over the peak summer. It's just beautiful to go for a swim there. But yeah, there's always some sort of festival or activity. And generally over the summer months, that's how I try and steer customers, that If you want a bit more going on, a bit more of a vibrant village, then try and hit one of the weekends, because I guarantee there'll be some kind of festival that's pulling people up from Seattle, from Vancouver. If you want things a little bit more sedate and quiet, and usually prices are probably slightly less expensive, hit one of the midweek times. But whenever you are, there's always something going on in Whistler.
Okay. Let's try and find some deeper experiences now, or some hidden gems that people probably wouldn't come across as well. So, what have you got that's under the radar experiences that most travellers kind of wish they knew about in both kind of Vancouver and Whistler?
Do you know, so starting with Whistler, because it's just the top of my head for where we've been discussing, one thing that I absolutely love is called Vallea Lumina, and it's open year round. It's really difficult to describe. I'm quite into my theatre, and I love immersive theatre. It feels a bit like immersive theatre to me, but it's a nighttime walk where you follow a modernized version of a First Nations story. And at times, there's almost like a sets of these campsites and areas. They project visual imagery of the people involved with it. There's lasers, there's lights. This can only be done at night, and it is just this magical walk. And I think sometimes on that Canada tour, there's only so much that can be done at night time, because a lot of the reasons for the tour is wildlife and scenery. And Vallea Lumina to me is just something really different and special that could easily be missed, slightly out of the resort, but that's something that I think is absolutely worth giving your time to. The other thing that I think is truly unique, and I talk to, I don't know, hundreds, not quite thousands, but of people each year about the destinations. And over the winter in Whistler, on the old Olympic, I say the old, it's been very well looked after, and it was only 2010, the Olympics over there, the sliding centre, you can do skeleton. So you can do bobsleigh as well and sit and have that bobsleigh experience, but I know a handful of places across the world you can do bobsleigh, but I don't know another place in the world where you can do skeleton. It's just you, a tray, and you get up to close to or over 100 kilometers an hour. I got up to, I think it was like 98.6, so close to getting over it. But you've got the ice inches away from your chin. It is one of the most incredible and terrifying things that I've done. So anybody over the winter, give that a go if you are after something that you can't do really anywhere else in the world.
Fantastic. That sounds really cool.
And then I guess to answer your question in Vancouver, what's the one thing that flies under the radar there? Do you know what? It's harder to think of something to recommend. I guess one thing that I think, because it's not in the downtown core, which sometimes gets missed by the majority of customers, is venturing out to the University of BC. Now, if you've got bikes for the day, you can cycle around Stanley Park and you can just keep going. You come to this bit called Kitsilano, or Kits as the locals describe it, which is this real kind of modern, trendy place. It's where companies like Lululemon sprang up from. I think Arc'teryx, which is also a Vancouver brand, has their warehouse there. So it's this great place. You look out across the water to downtown Vancouver. And if you keep going to UBC, there's a museum there in the university campus, Museum of Anthropology, which has one of the most incredible displays of First Nations artifacts, history, culture that you will find anywhere in Canada. I think there's 500,000 artifacts. It's set over acres of land. So again, that for me is just such a special place to learn and engage with the First Nations history and culture, and could easily be missed by somebody who's hanging around the downtown core. The other thing that's tucked away on Stanley Park, which is often missed, and for families is a must, is the Vancouver Aquarium. The sea otters steal the show. They are the cutest things, and they do have sea lions, they do have sea otters there, and it's really important to note, because I appreciate that any encaptured animals is sometimes a very difficult subject in modern tourism, but these are saved. They wouldn't have survived in the wild, so they're there, as I believe you say, living their best life. So a bit like the grizzly bears on the top of Grouse Mountain. Through your trip around Western Canada, unless you are going to one of the bear lodges, which don't come at a small price, unless you're venturing to one of the bear lodges, which are next level experiences, but the chances of seeing grizzly bears is pretty slim. So at the top of Grouse Mountain, going to see them as well, I think, especially for families, is just a real unique thing. And you get those amazing views back over downtown Vancouver from there.
Which brings me on to my next question. What is the best viewpoint? Because we live in an Instagram world, don't we? Where's the one best viewpoint people can go to get that awesome photo?
Do you know what I do think? A float plane, he says, sounding quite repetitive, but I do think the top of Grouse Mountain is a brilliant place to overlook and get that picture of Vancouver. The other thing is there's a really great restaurant called the Observatory there, so you can sit in, if it's the winter, in warmth, having a wonderful meal, looking out over the city. And Grouse Mountain is right next to Capilano. It's about a 15-minute drive away. Oh, no, sorry, it's not even that long. It's 15 minutes from downtown Vancouver to Capilano. It's probably 5 minutes Uber or bus up to where the Grouse Mountain Gondola will take you up to overlook it. So that's why Grouse Mountain probably gets talked about more than the other two mountains of Cypress and Seymour, just because it couples really well with Grouse, and then you get Capilano, and then you get those beautiful views back over the city.
Fantastic. Looking towards planning, somebody planning their first Vancouver and Whistler holiday, what's a great kind of starting structure for crafting the perfect itinerary and bring it all together?
Do you know what? When it comes to the summer, I think the most important thing is you speak to somebody with the expertise and understanding of the area. To hark back to my earlier comment about 2 nights here, 2 nights there, it would be so easy to put an itinerary together which looks wonderful on paper, but then you realize all you're doing is checking in and out of hotels, and the driving in this part of the world, the routes that you take, the time you need to spend, that little bit of insight of the must-do things. I think when it comes to these kind of complex multi-center itineraries, you need an expert there guiding you, because if not, for many people, this is a once in a lifetime holiday. You want to get it right, and the hours that you would need to research, to get under the skin. I've lost track of how many times I've been to Canada. I think it's 50 plus now. To get that real experience, my advice is always speak to people who know it, the specialists inside and out, because that will give you the best possible outcome.
Okay. If someone had 30 seconds to decide whether they're going to include Vancouver and Whistler in their next trip, what would you tell them?
In 30 seconds, I've seen as I've already spent 15 seconds cogitating that. I think it's a personal thing. It depends what you're looking to get out of your holiday. Some people naturally say, oh, I don't want to spend time in a city, but don't think of Vancouver as a city, I guess would be the key thing. And don't think of Whistler as this quiet little ski resort. These are two phenomenal places that you will love and you'll want to spend time in. And even if you think, oh, maybe that's not for me, dig a little deeper and have a look, because as you mentioned, I went to Vancouver and I came back and I wanted to live there. And that is so common from the Brits. And the same with Whistler. So often I hear, oh, I just stopped in it for a night or 2 nights on my trip. I wish I'd spent more time. So I think that's the thing to investigate, make sure you know where you're going, and then tailor that trip for you. It can be a real personal trip, something like this. There's a lot of different aspects to it. So find where you want to go and just choose the best tour.
Yeah, I mean, you've covered off an awful lot of areas there, and you've said about people trying to figure out if it's for them or not. But by the sounds of it, it covers off literally everything in one trip, doesn't it? It's got the outdoorsy stuff for people, it's got the little city visits as well, it's got the wilderness, it's got the activities, it's kind of got everything going for it.
Absolutely. And I think because you are traveling that little bit further, it's a 9-hour flight to get there, you want to make the most of that travel time. But you can have so many different types of holiday in one trip over in this part of the world.
Yeah, sounds kind of like New York, but on steroids, really. But there's a lot more, tons more to do with it as well.
Yeah, I guess not dissimilar. Somewhere like New York, you've got the mountains around you as well. But I guess the green open spaces, being able to pop over to Vancouver Island, being able to get the Rocky Mountaineer over to the Rockies, which I've traveled around the world and looking at mountain scenery, and the Rockies are like nowhere else on this planet that I've seen. There is just such incredible variety and so much to choose from this area. And not for everybody. This isn't the Maldives. It probably isn't that kind of relaxing holiday in the way that you just sit around and do a crossword, and you are out and about and exploring. And it is great if you can give yourself a bit of downtime. Again, if you're in Whistler, there's so many beautiful green spaces that you can get out on your own and just put your feet up for a bit, because otherwise it can be quite a frenetic tour, that Western holiday. But yeah, it offers an awful lot to so many people. And yeah, like I say, I wish more families would look at it over the summer months, because I think it's really special, and have been, because I'm lucky enough to be in the industry, going over with my daughters to experience it and go and sit on a boat and watch bears look for crabs under rocks. Those are experiences that they'll talk about for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely will, yeah. Yeah, phenomenal. So finally, for listeners who are now inspired, you've sold it to them, Mike. They know it's going to be their very next destination where they want to go to. What's the best way for them to start planning and to bring it all to life?
Honestly, Jason, I think speaking to you, I think that's the next best thing. If you're inspired and you want to book it, then come and speak to somebody who lives and breathes the destination, because travel gets under your skin. And I think this area in Canada gets under lots of people's skins as well. And you just want customers to go out and have that experience. And I get that feeling from you, Jason. And I think that passion, you can't fake that authenticity to customers. They buy it. They don't buy it if they feel like you're faking it. And then that understanding of, again, what you understand of all these different elements to the trip. What is important to one person may not be important to somebody else. So it's really important that holiday is tailored to that specific customer's need. And quite often, not only that, they'll save themselves a hell of a lot of time, and usually money, than trying to DIY package it together.
Yeah, it's something you really can't do online when you really want to build up an itinerary. Is going to be 10 days long, take all these things into account. And we mentioned before about going on tours, and it just changes your entire experience. And the same does as well for just having a well-planned itinerary. And you're very right. Every single trip is unique to people. It's unique to the time that they go. It could be a special time for them. They could have been before. They want to recreate something. they could have never been before, but they love certain types of things. Like I love ice hockey and those types of things. And you obviously love your seaplane. And there's just so many different things that are unique to different people and bringing them out. And the other thing an agent does as well is it gives you a curveball. I love throwing curveballs into itineraries and into presentations for people and things they've never even thought about and seeing if they like it or not. And they usually love the idea of it and end up going with it. So that's one of the things I love putting in for people. It's really good. So thank you for your time today, Mike. It's been absolutely amazing. For anybody who has decided now that they absolutely want to go to Canada, they want to get over to the West Coast, go see Vancouver, go see Whistler, and go and do it properly, I'd love to help you make your next trip come to a reality. Please get in contact with us. You can visit our website, which is bullytravel.com. You can Facebook me, you can WhatsApp me. All my details are out there publicly. You'll easily find them. Please get in touch, and I'd love to make it happen. Finally, if you could, and leave a comment on the podcast as well. We don't always get to see all the comments, but if you can rate and review it, follow and share, it all helps the podcast get out further and help other people who love to travel find this amazing information with these travel experts that you really can't find in many other places. So thanks for listening today, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Jason Ball Travel Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, like, and follow. A new episode drops every Friday morning. Do you know someone who loves to travel? Then share the Jason Ball Travel Podcast on your socials and tag them in.